Good morning. Um, Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to do a quick presentation on work as devotion. I'm going to do a 3-card pull and we'll see how the world is going. So grab your coffee, tea, and let's get started. My coffee is not its normal luscious flavor today. I'm trying to switch back to black coffee to try and cut down some of the sugar that I've been adding to my diet. It's interesting. I don't mind black coffee at all. I definitely prefer cream and sugar. Coffee is definitely a delivery system for my sweet tooth. But we're switching over to see if I can get that under control. It's not bad coffee. I like Counterculture. They got a really good flavor. Not a sponsor, but you can find them. They're local here in North Carolina. Okay, so let's get started. As many of you are aware, my name is Susanna Olson. I am a spiritual counselor and a reverend. I am a torchbearer and a key bearer for the Coven of Hecate. I am the founder of the Sanctuary of Hecate Bremo, and I've been moving around my online presence a little bit. For those of you who are interested in following along, you can see my new website at hecatebremo.org. Um, I've moved out of Wix. I'm in the process of getting all of my items out of Wix, but for right now, I've moved the majority of my domains. For those who were not aware, they do have some interesting, um, let's just say, investigate for before you spend your money. Um, if you want to stay on Wix, I have other clients that are using it. You can certainly do that. But for my work with the Sanctuary of Hecate Bremo, I've moved that out of the Wix tool. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about work as devotion. So this topic was brought up to me, I want to say in 2024, I was going to attend one of the events put on by Sarita de and I ended up not participating in that event. So I have the slide deck available. I'm going to put it on the website at Hecate Bremo so that you can download it and look at it as well. But I just wanted to talk through it. I briefly considered doing a meeting style where I could have the slide deck over, but I don't know that that's necessarily what this channel is really about. So I just figured it would just be me talking, and I'll include the slide deck later on. So a little bit about me. We've already talked about my association with the Coven of Hecate. In my mundane life, I've got 22 years experience in operations management, business process management, agile methodologies, and project management. I specialize in optimizing efficiency, driving innovation, and managing premium productivity applications. Um, for over 14 years, I've served as in an operations management capacity for the Coven of Hecate, overseeing their website management, social media management, operational strategies, and to aid in that operational strategy to support the global community that is the Coven of Hecate. My creative outlets include this channel, YouTube, sharing, teaching. I do sound healing. I do a bit of sculpture. So I have a little sculptures that I do. We talked about that last week as a way of showing devotion. Um, I do art, drawing, pottery, wire weaving, fire arts, metalwork, um, all sorts of different creative outlets that can all be considered an expression of devotion. So, what is work as devotion? What does that mean? To me, work as devotion is the practice of transforming everyday labor, creativity, and service into an act of sacred dedication. And I'm going to pull this up one more time, right? I'm going to pull this little sculpture up that I made and hold it up for you. So that's the little sculpture. I made polymer clay. And I sort of do these when I'm working. I've got a handful of them. They're across the room, but I've got a handful of them. Some of them have little marbles on the top. Some of them have crystals. And it's just a creative outlet that I do that I feel is devotional. Other things that you may consider is like this, for example. This was a gift from Tina, who was my torchbearer sponsor. And she sent me this, right? So this is an act of devotion, right? She asked me my favorite color. These have purple beads on them, and then it has a key to represent when I took my oath to become a torchbearer. So again, and I keep this on my altar now. I keep it as part of my spiritual practice and my daily devotions to the goddess. So whether your work is professional, creative, or communal, right? Let's say you work on something together. I'm trying to look around and see if I have any of my other pieces that might be handy. And I don't see one right off, but let's say you were to get together with a group, and this is where the communal comes in. You would be able to work on images, drawing, painting, cleaning up someone's yard, that kind of thing. All of those things can be taken as a spiritual offering, and it deepens the connection, the purpose, and the impact of what you're working on. So the way I see this, creativity, devotion, and service are essential, right? We start out with that creativity. Creativity fuels devotion, right? Through expressing art, writing, teaching, music, drawing, whatever you do. I have some native flutes that I have in the other room, and every now and then I'll walk through and pick them up and just start playing them. To me, that music, that connecting, is an act of devotion. Now, as you're doing that creativity, your devotion then drives service, right? What are you going to do with it? It's all well and good to say, please pray for me. Please do a ritual for me. Light a candle for me. Burn some incense for me. It's all well and good, but there's steps that need to be taken afterwards. That devotion, right? So we've got creativity to devotion leading to service. That service is your action. It's what makes all those other things happen. It's not going to do any good for me to sit here and talk about, the house and food insecure of my area and then not do anything to change that. So what I do is I create, right? Creativity. And in this creativity is my devotion to the goddess. I then share these on social media, on my website, and I put them up for sale. Those items that are for sale are then purchased. When they're purchased, that's where my service comes in. I'm able to take that money and it will then go to buy food and socks and gloves and hats and all of those things that I then put into the blessing box of Goldsboro. So in my service, right, I create, then have that devotional that drives that creativity, and then the service that is how I deliver it. Each step builds on the last one, and it guides us to work on continuous improvement. So it's like an iteration, if you will. It's the iterative approach. You come in, you fail fast, and you move forward. I do this almost every day in my mundane. So allowing myself to be creative in all aspects of my life, from my hand building clay sculptures to writing devotional hymns to reciting daily affirmations or creating those affirmations, all of those things, that creativity is where we drive into the devotion. Using the things that I create, right? There are inspirational vehicles, whether they're on my website for free download, waiting for a donation, or they're actually items that are for sale. All of these things are there, and they're available and created out of that devotion. Again, that service results in the action. That resulting action takes change. That change is either for one for the many or change for myself. All of that impacts our lives, and it impacts the lives around us. This work that we do, the daily tasks that we complete, whether you're making the tea, when you're making the bed, when you're washing the dishes, all of these things, if we treat all of these things as work, as devotion, then it will change everything around you. I'm reminded of Thich Nhat Hanh. And his if you can certainly Google it, and I'll try to remember to put a link in the comments, about washing the dishes, right? And how washing the dishes becomes a spiritual moment, because you don't do anything but do it. There's no past or future that you're able to be a part of. You can only be part of now. So if you look at washing the dishes, right? If you have your dishes and you're washing them, you're concentrating on washing the dishes. If you concentrate on shuffling the cards, lighting the candle, burning the incense, if you focus on that, then that in itself, that work becomes devotional. So some of the things that I do, I will, as I mentioned, work in the clay. I've done tons of wire wrapping, and that's a very repetitive thing. I think that fiber arts, crocheting, those kind of things, that whole braiding and nesting together, I use those things in order to create. And that's because, if I think that if I were someone who had the amount of money that some of these people have, it probably wouldn't last very long. Um, I would definitely be one of those people who are walking through grocery stores and scanning cards and trying to help as many people as I could possibly help, to buy the foods that they need and get the medical attention that they need. Um, so I don't have those resources. So I turn to making things, doing readings, selling oracle cards. I have an eBay channel that's got an assortment of things that are not always magical, just to help continue to raise money so that I can take all of those profits, and purchase things like non-perishable foods, so canned goods, dried goods, fresh fruit and vegetables when they're available, personal hygiene items, like socks and shoes, or not shoes, rather socks and gloves and hats, and then soap and shampoo and dry soap and hand sanitizer and gloves and masks and things like that, that someone may not necessarily have access to. Um, in 2025, we had so many donations that we were able to actually replace one of the wooden blessing boxes, one of the wooden blessing boxes, with a one that is made of high quality plastic. So we were having a lot of trouble with the blessing boxes rotting and falling over and getting wet and things like that. So we were able to purchase one and get it installed up by locally by Habitat for Humanity, in downtown Goldsboro. So that was something that came. I was very proud of our group. We had tarot deck purchases. I had a lot of jewelry purchases, some direct donations that let us go through to be able to purchase that and get it set up last year. So why is this particular item, this blessing box, why is this the item I picked to be the center focus for Sanctuary of Hecate Brahmo? As I was doing my research, I came across a quote. It said, "The poor take those things which are placed at the crossroads for Hecate before the goddess can lay eyes on them." For me, I thought, how appropriate, right? Because it's not doing me any good at all to go outside and leave apples and oranges or dates, or leave any of these things at a crossroad where they'll either rot or, just simply be picked up by wild animals. I thought it was much more impactful that I go to the crossroads, and I make my donations of food and items that those that are less fortunate um, don't have access to. So when I read that quote, it was really impactful for me. I am native here of North Carolina. I've lived here the majority of my life. Um, I have lived in other states, but I've for the most part I've been here, and it is a very poor county. There are a lot of people that need a lot of help. And as a small child, there were some times that I didn't eat if I didn't go to school. You know, the only food that was available was our school lunch, and I got free lunch. So we were not in a household that was plentiful. We were not in a household that is plentiful. So we were on public assistance, and it wasn't always the best life. So I chose this particular avenue to support because I felt like it was the most connected to me, and it helped me do things for people that maybe were in the same situation that my parents were in or that I was in as a small child. Um, and then when the reference to Hecate came, I was like, that's it. That's totally what I'm doing. So some of the work that I've done, I don't have a lot of it in front of me, but I do have some of the things. Like I've got these little boxes that we made, um, and then this piece behind me that Eli made. We sold a few of those. And then, of course, like I mentioned, you know, I've got candles and a little goddess that I worked on. I'm going to include some photos that'll have some of the different things that I've worked on throughout the years, including wire art and so forth, even my card decks themselves. So taking all these forms of creativity, I put them in my assorted venues, you know, Facebook, YouTube, websites, and even my on-site events to try and help me continue that mission, which is to provide those things that I'm able to provide. So as we look back on this, we circle back down to what we've been discussing. That creativity fuels devotion, which leads to service, and it expands and allows us to reach more people every day. um, Specifically my creativity, oracle books or oracle decks, ebooks, candles, devotional items, hymns, and all that. These all lead to that devotional side of things, and then service is that creating those classes and actually moving forward with the service for my community, for the Hecate community, COH, those kind of things, as well as that public service that I also do. So what can you do? What can you do to take that creativity and turn it into devotion? I recommend starting with a daily affirmation. It's the best way. It's something you can control. It's something that can start out small and then you can develop into something later. As a daily devotional, maybe light your candle, light your incense, come before your altar. Or if you're not someone who does all of this, just wake up in the morning, take a deep breath, and say something like, my work is devotion, my creativity an offering, and my service a prayer. Every action I take honors the sacred and uplifts my community. So that's a very simple, it's showing devotion, service, devotion, creativity, and service, and it brings it all together in a single statement. I'll make sure that's included if you decide you want to use it. And again, it is, my work is devotion, my creativity an offering, my service a prayer. Every action I take honors the sacred and uplifts my community. So now, once you start in and you have that devotional practice set up, think about what you can do. All acts matter. Everything matters. Just last night, I was so touched. I had a donation come through, and it was a $2 donation, and it was just as important as the $500 donation, 3 months ago, or someone buying an oracle deck. All acts matter. Everything that you do matters. You can teach, you can share your wisdom, you can make dedications in your daily work, you can create with intention, right? When I create things, I create them with the intention of giving back. And you can also support causes that align with your devotion. And that's what I was talking about earlier during this video about me moving my website and so forth. If you find there's such a thing called right action, right? There's right life, right living, right action, right speech. Right living to me is I want to be sure that all the things that I do not cause suffering or cause harm. It's one of the reasons I'm a vegan. It's one of the reasons that I do my best to not cause any pain and try to create things that do not cause those pain. So if you can't teach, share, if you feel like you can't sculpt or create decks, do what you do and make sure that it aligns with causes you support. Don't work with things that pollute the environment. Don't support, many people are boycotting various retail organizations right now because they don't align with their particular their particular stance. So I think that's a great way to go ahead and move forward with that. So as we wrap up this piece, I want to make sure it's very clear. Every act of service matters. Your make time for the things that you love, your art, and make space for other people, make space for others. You can learn something by seeing what other people believe and what other people follow. Offer your skills and resources. That's a great way to give back. If you're a part of the Covenant Hecate and you want to start writing blogs, reach out to me. Let me get you set up to do that. If you want to help us on social media, let me set you up to do that. Connect with other people, right? Connect with other people, share that information, and help others walk their path with confidence the same way you would. So that's the little presentation I have on that. I hope that was informational. I'm going to do a 3-card pull. So let's pull from the River Witch. We're going to pull from the River Witch. I got a few of these decks left. If you're in another country, if you're not in the United States and you want to get one, you can get them off of eBay. Unfortunately, I cannot afford international shipping off my website, but you can pick them up there. Local people or local interests, you can certainly grab that off of hecatebremo.org. All right. It's not too bad, right? Not too bad coffee. All right, let's start with our first card. This card is Summer. I'm going to hold that up for you. All right. The Summer card is abundance, playful, and activity. When we're thinking about this time period, I always go back to when I was, outside running around barefoot, seeing the fireflies playing. It's that time of activity, that time of movement. And when we see this in our first slot, when we're drawing here, based on what question you're asking, you want to think about how are you able to connect to that abundant side of your life, reconnect to that playful side. Maybe you need to just walk outside for a minute, walk on the grass, just breathe, be right here where you are right now. So that's our first card. Our second card is the Musician. So I'm going to hold this card up for you. All right, this musician depicts a gentleman playing a guitar, and the key words are inspiration, harmony, and expression. As I mentioned, this deck is a River Witch Oracle deck. It focuses on the contributions of the native population here, the first peoples that were in this land before it was colonized, and then, of course, the enslaved that were brought over from Africa and forced to build this country. This particular image, to me, I believe, is that Black people, Black community, Black heritage is the root of all, especially rock and roll music, and of course other as well, but specifically in this case, blues, all of those came from that genre. So this card, when I created it, was a way to pay homage to that representation. When we see it in the second slot, it's talking about harmony and expression. It's talking about what are we doing today to coexist or to harmonized with those around us? How are we contributing to this area? What do we need to be inspired by? What do we need to play that song? So that is our second card. And then the last card is the deer card. I'm going to hold that up for you. Anyone who lives in the rural South, you have seen many a deer. They are all over here, from whitetail to all types of deers. One time I did a ritual overnight. It was loud, and I was thoroughly enjoying myself. And the next morning, a beautiful deer walked back in our yard, and I was like, I called her, so there she was. So card three. Card three again is the deer. The key words are gentleness, sensitivity, and devotion. So when we think about the way deer approach something very cautiously and very skeptical, right? That's what we need to be at this time period in our life. We need to understand, we need to be sensitive to the energy around us. There's a lot going on right now. The world is not a calm place. We are seeing just atrocities across our planet for the treatment of people who are different than what is called the societal norm. We are seeing a lot of abuse of black bodies and black bodies and brown bodies, and I'm sorry, it is at the hand of a lot of white people. So we need to, as not only as white people, but as human beings, we need to be more sensitive to what's around us. We need to speak up when we see things that are unfair. We need to be in the presence of others and have a sense of gentleness and devotion towards those who may be different than ourselves. It's imperative that we do that in order to succeed. So I'm going to hold up all three cards for you. So those are our three cards for today. Again, this is the River Witch Oracle, and you can pick it up off of my website at hecatebremo.org, or you can go on eBay and pick it up there if you are an international, if you have interest and you live in any side outside of the United States. So that is our, I don't know, what is this? This is our meeting for today, I guess. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about it, I'll link the slide deck, and I'd love to hear from you. Leave it in the comments. Have a glorious day today, and we'll talk soon.